The escalating Middle East conflict has severed vital global oil supply lines. This geographic choke point sends an immediate economic shockwave straight into the Philippines. This data table highlights the immediate macroeconomic fallout on the currency. Over 6 days, the Philippine peso slid to 58.63 against the US dollar, hitting a one-month low. This dashboard visualization tracks the secondary domestic impacts. Inflation has accelerated for 3 straight months, reaching a 13-month high of 2.4%. At the same time, the actual purchasing power of the peso has dropped to a record low of 76 centavos. On the trading floor, markets are reacting to the pressure. For corporations, a weaker peso directly translates into significantly higher import costs for materials. This combination of rising prices and a devalued currency points to a severe erosion of consumer spending power. Businesses across all sectors will see their operating margins compress as consumers are forced to tighten their budgets. On the ground, rising imported oil costs place extreme pressure on the local transport sector. Public transit heavily relies on fossil fuel vehicles, particularly traditional jeepneys. Transport groups are organizing nationwide strikes, protesting operating costs they can no longer afford to absorb. To shield commuters from the rising costs and prevent further public unrest, President Marcos intervened directly by suspending a planned jeepney fare increase. This checklist outlines the government's broader emergency interventions. The Department of Energy is proposing temporary cuts to excise taxes and a nationwide transition to a 4-day workweek. The Department of Energy is the national executive agency responsible for directing the country's energy policies and mitigating supply disruptions. The labor fallout extends beyond domestic borders, prompting the Department of Trade and Industry to add a 2 billion peso emergency fund to the mitigation strategy. This capital is specifically allocated for our Overseas Filipino Workers, or OFWs. OFWs are Philippine citizens who reside and work in foreign countries, thousands of whom are currently being displaced by the conflict in the Middle East. The state absorbs the fiscal impact to maintain social order. Employers must prepare immediately for flexible work arrangements and sustained logistics disruptions. The crisis has forced the government to pivot its long-term strategy toward absolute domestic energy security. This map shows the first major legislative solution, a 60 billion peso National Strategic Petroleum Reserve located in Bataan. Once constructed, this facility is designed to hold a 90 to 180-day backup supply of national fuel. Concurrently, the government announced a major extraction development, the Malampaya East 1, or MAE-1, natural gas discovery, located in the waters off Palawan. The reservoir contains 98 billion cubic feet, or BCF, of natural gas. BCF is a standard unit of volume used in the oil and gas industry to measure large quantities of natural gas. Initial tests show the well flowing at 60 million cubic feet per day, providing a massive addition to the depleting national grid. Businesses must brace for sustained, painful logistics costs throughout 2026. However, the forced push for domestic energy independence opens a massive window for institutional investors to capitalize on public-private partnerships in energy infrastructure and extraction.